So we're all really excited to have you here, Ollie. Thank you so much for being with us.
It's a
And I'm
pleasure.
going to start just by asking you this question. So, how did you get into this? How did you become the go-to person when it comes to longevity, biohacking, whatever you want to call it? What made it so interesting for you?
Well, it's kind of like a long journey. So usually people have this hero's journey. So they like face adversities and they find their inner hero and then they conquer the world. But
Yeah.
yeah, like I actually realized that I graduated from medical school in Helsinki, University of Helsinki, like 20 years ago. So that is like I was like, what? Okay, it's been 20 years. So uh, I've been always like kind of like this hard working, like all of our family are doctors, like maybe like 80, 90%. And I've been kind of like this pushing and trying to achieve like the perfect scores, perfect on everything. And then this kind of put me into a constant state of alertness. And I didn't realize when I was young, I pushed myself like being a ER doctor like 5 years in a row. And yeah, I've had like a couple of like this kind of like burnout, similar to burnout type of things. Of course, burnout it's not like a single thing. There's actually 12 stages to that. But I realized like afterwards that I've been super like close to actually crashing. And I then like in some moment when I was just finishing a shift in the ER like 24 hours in, and I got a call that hey, now you need to drive to this other city. There's the doctor is sick, and then I just snapped and I quit at that point.
Wow.
And at the same point, I decided now I need to really like take care of myself better and start sleeping more. I used to sleep only like 5 hours and maybe occasional naps. And that was, I think, 2010. Like before that, I did some meditation and tried to like I understood that the stress levels are pretty high, but it wasn't that consistent until the kind of like a certain breaking point. So that kind of shifted the narrative and the objectives on how I view health, like taking 90, 100 patients a day, like a 14-hour shift and just like 6 minutes in and out. That was pretty crazy. So I decided, okay, now I began healing myself, fixing sleep, like optimizing nutrition, not overtraining, because also trained, like I overtrained all the time. So I was undercovered, as you could imagine, like five, 6 times per week, all kinds of like heavy things. And that also shifted my like a career. I began doing like a private practice first in this bigger clinic and then like in the smaller kind of like functional medicine clinic back in 2012, and I worked there 6 years. And then I met my like co-founder of our company, Biocar Center. Now it's Hololive Center, Teemu Arina, and we decided, okay, we need to write a book on these fundamentals. It's kind of kind of like the missing manual of the human body. So then came the idea for the Biocar's handbook, and we published that in 2016 in Finnish and translated in English in 2019, and it went pretty viral, like over 60 countries. And now fast forwarding to this point, now it's been more of a uh, maybe made a little bit not that complex, like the Optimized Human, a beginner's guide to biohacking, and now it's coming out. A lot of things happening like in the middle and a lot of growth and realizing that I'm not gonna be young forever. Now I'm 46 and like close to 50. So of course the longevity kind of the trend also began rising maybe 10 years ago. Just realizing that we need to first master the fundamentals before we even trying any like NAD supplement or anything like that. So
Brilliant. Thank you.
yeah, that is the story that like I have answered this question pretty many times in the past years, and it's kind of evolving, and it's a good way to reflect your
Yeah.
life, what has happened.
Do you know, Ollie, when you said that you started 20 years ago, I nearly said, this will make everyone laugh. I nearly said, well, you must, how do you look so young? And then I just thought, well, this is exactly what he does. You know, but
Thanks.
you
Yeah,
look
well,
fantastic for your age, so it must work.
Not a day over 21.
thanks. No, I'll take it in, but of course,
Yeah.
this is also a theme. Like if you go to a nutritionist who looks unhealthy, like
Yes.
super obese,
Yeah.
you're not gonna trust him or her that
No.
much. So like teaching these kind of things, you also need to like walk the talk and live that. And
Absolutely.
of course, like from experience, or the n equals one, which means like you are the master of your own health, your own wellness, your own fitness, and that is the only thing that matters. Of course, what matters is how you get the information and what works for you, what doesn't, and if you measure something or not. But like concentrating on yourself, it's not egoism, it's actually caring on a
Yeah.
deeper level also of your relatives and close people.
Brilliant.
Wonderful, Ollie. Thank you. Okay, so over to me now. I think when people hear the word longevity, they sometimes think of like elite athletes or biohackers. I think in reality, most of the people we see in our centres, they're just trying to feel a bit better, move a bit more, and stay active as they age. From your perspective, what are the most important habits for the everyday person that could make the biggest difference over time as they age?
Well, yeah, I can just completely 100% reflect on my own journey. So, as I mentioned, what I did, slept 5 hours a day max. So, like fixing the fundamentals, and this is also like one of the biggest reasons we wrote the Biker's Handbook, which is like five-part book on sleep, nutrition, exercise, mind, and work. So these are kind of like the fundamentals. Of course, stress management it's kind of like intertwined into all of this, but like mastering like the 1/3 of your life that you spend sleeping,
Mm,
it's like it's huge. Like that is like I would say that that is the biggest thing you can invest on, like investing on your sleep, and it has a very like exponential effect on all things like health. And like nutrition, it's there's so much could be taught and talked about nutrition, but it's mainly about like the basics and not like the Pareto principle. Like what is the like 20% that gives you 80% of the results, or you can reverse it. Like if you eat 80% clean, whole foods, non-inflammatory foods, and 20% can be like something else. So it's not about like finding the perfect, absolutely like fine-tuned diet for you. That could be also done, but the results are they're not like that much better. So having like stable energy, like good recovery from daily exertions, you find energy for your closed ones. You're not like completely like wasted after, like wasted maybe not the right word, but completely out of energy after after work. So you have still have energy so for like your social life and things like that, and these like the stress management, recovery, all things are super important. People can like exert themselves, like they can punish themselves, and like I can train hard. That is actually the easy part, but the hard part is to how you sleep hard, how you recover hard, how you like eat balanced, so that your system is like in homeostasis. Homeostasis means that it is in balance, and hopefully in a good balance that supports health and hopefully prevents like developing any diseases. So like basic things lead to the most results in longevity. Then of course we can like try implementing, okay, maybe this supplement would work better, or if I try this technology, maybe this gives me an edge. So that is kind of like my pretty like grounded take on this topic.
Thank you. Yeah, I think not enough people focus on the basics, do they? Especially sleep. I completely agree with you. Did a lot of reading actually into the book Why We Sleep and on cell repair when you sleep for a certain number of hours and it can get rid of cancerous cells and all of that. And I don't think there's enough education out there for people to understand just how important sleep really is.
It's kind of like every mammal needs to sleep. Most of the organisms, if like I would say all of the organisms need to sleep. So it's an evolutionary uh, it's an evolutionary thing, or it's been staying us forever and will stay us forever until maybe something else comes up. But I don't think that's gonna happen pretty soon. So if we think about sleep and how I would reflect like my sleep, first of course fixing the time you spent on bed or in bed, and like if you spend 7 hours there, you cannot sleep 8 hours. You most likely sleep 6 hours or less. So let's say if you aim for 8 hours, spend 9 hours in bed. That is, then it's more likely that you actually sleep 8 hours. And of course, like different parts of the sleep, I like started tracking like basic recovery sleep with the Oura Ring, Finnish invention actually. So now it's 8.5 years in, and I've seen like the trends if I do like some kind of things. For as an example, like deep sleep, that is the first part of the sleep, and that is the most regenerative part of like the whole sleep of the night. So you need a lot of deep sleep to repair, like you repair your whole system, growth hormone like excretion increases. You kind of like rinse your brain out of all kinds of like nasty things that could lead, for example, to Alzheimer's disease or any neurodegenerative disease or anything like that. So increasing the deep sleep is one of the best things you can do. So I went pretty deep on this, and I had about an hour and 10 minutes of deep sleep, which is pretty okay. But I was able to double that in 2 years after implementing different kind of things. And there's like why biohacking could be coming, or like health optimization in place. But of course, like first you need to actually know how much you sleep, and even better if you have some reliable data. Okay, I get only 20 minutes of deep sleep, or I meet a lot of people who get 0 minutes of deep sleep. And if you think you could do anything else beyond that, but if you're not getting, for example, enough deep sleep, 30 minutes, an hour, even better, you're not going to be like getting the results that you could otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. So, in
Thanks.
our local gyms and sports centres, these are one of the few places where people can access movement, recovery, and social connection all in one place. When you look at what our centres already offer, do you think that our sector kind of fully realises the role in which it could play a bigger part in supporting long-term health?
Well, it's the question itself almost has the answer. So like totally not. Of course, like there are advanced like gyms and like sports centers that take into account, for example, recovery. They could have like some kind of like, for example, in Finland we have this gym kind of franchise. It's called Sats or something like that, or Fressi, or yeah, my wife goes there, but they actually have these like recovery, this whole body vibration, the Finnish neurosonic, like this kind of beds, so you can just lie down there, have a little recovery, and this gentle vibration on your whole body kind of like wipes out the stress of the day. Or there could be like any other technology or a massage, like kind of like a chair or something like that, or even like a spa treatments. So I think these like kind of like wellness hubs and centers and gyms are coming like a lot closer together, but there's like a huge potential. We have actually gone, I don't recall all the numbers, but it's like a trillions of euros, the potential and the market in these, and only like the imagination is the limit. So it doesn't need to be super hardcore. Like, of course,
Mm.
these have their places like hardcore gyms and only for like like
Mm.
fucking sorry, lifting heavy shit. But if you want more of an experience, without it being like a salon or like a beauty spa, this is kind of like the point that has huge opportunity. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, I completely agree with you. And like those places obviously are on offer in the UK. I think so. Where I work, for example, in Oldham, it's a very deprived area. In our leisure centres, I would say we're very far away from being able to implement things like that. So for I guess those of us that work in deprived areas or low level leisure centres that can only provide so much, if we could only change one thing, what would you say? Like, well, what would you suggest would be a good place to start?
Well, people need a place to rest and like just do nothing, and even better if it helps their body to recover and recuperate. So that is like I think that is the ultimate win. So for example, like the Finnish technology Neurosonic, or could be like this CTN's, like this LED Pro whole body red light therapy panel. So like let's say 20 years ago, even myself included, I used to go to lie down on a solarium bed. But nowadays, like we know that the UVA and getting like overexposed to that is actually pretty harmful, carcinogenic even. But there's a better, like there are better options, better technologies just to like lie down, recover, getting in some like nice treatment, or even better like technology that could do it for you, and just like be still for a moment and not like rushing for the next thing. Of course, like saunas, they have been like on forever. I don't know how much they are in the UK, how many like sports and fitness centers have saunas. But for example, in Finland, where like which we like to call the origin of the traditional sauna, we have like almost every gym has a sauna, and that is like it is a great step to that. And then maybe having like a cold tub, so you could do like some heat alteration, and
Yeah,
just kind of like helping the body shift from the alert state to more of like a recovery mode.
amazing. Thank you.
Ollie, you're very you're very knowledgeable and an expert really on the cold therapy side of things, as well as
Mhm.
everything else. But it's something that I feel that is that something you do yourself?
Yeah, on a daily basis. So I take cold showers every
Mm.
morning. I'm not like one of those guys that wakes up and immediately runs to the cold shower. No, that would be a shock. I don't like that. But like always finish like the shower with the cold.
Mm.
In the winter time we do ice swimming, like this on a lake or the sea.
Did you
And
just,
I
sorry, Ollie, did you just say ice swimming?
yeah. So we have a hole in the ice and just dip there. Not necessarily actually swim if it's a small
Yeah.
hole, but could be even like swimming there. So I'm super used to cold. I love cold, and that is like very like what I've noticed. It's super good for my nervous system especially, and for nervous system recovery. Uh, you can of course like overdo do that as well. And like cold tubs, like ice tubs, those are a huge global market and thing. A lot of nice brands that you can
Yeah.
just like have in your backyard or even balcony,
Yeah.
and you can jump there. So cold as a therapy is it's nothing new. It's ancient. That's why we have a wired mechanism in the biology. We produce cold like stress proteins, similar to when we go to sauna or heat, we produce heat shock proteins, and these are kind of like evolutionary, uh, kind of like the proteins and the mechanism have been there forever. So we are being adapted and used to getting super cold and very hot places. So our biology is meant to be adapted to different kind of thermal kind of conditions. So practicing these heat and cold alterations also practices our nervous system and our recovery capacity tremendously.
Just on sleep as well, Ollie. Last year we had a guest on the virtual club on our marketing with our marketing group, a guy called Rory McKenty, and he's chief marketing officer for Gymnation in Dubai. And only, I think it was yesterday, he started to put stuff on LinkedIn and on Instagram. And his gym chain, they do quite a few quirky things, but one of the things they're doing now is a sleep class in one of the studios. They're teaching people how to sleep better, and
Yeah.
it's part, a bit of cheeky marketing, but it's also quite clever as well, in terms of what they're doing. So I think that's really good. Just helping people to understand how to
Yeah.
relax and switch off.
It is like it's kind of funny that we need to be taught the fundamentals
Mm,
that actually we never were taught in the school. So if you think about this thing, how much you actually learned about sleep in the school or even university, or if you have a degree on any of these things, unless you're like a sleep physiologist, or about nutrition, like the state of like, or the art of teaching and the quality of teaching of these kind of basic things, it's
yeah.
kind of like very close to zero in these basic institutions like schools. So that is like, of course, like the place
Mm,
where we could head. Of course, like gyms, these are perfect ways to arrange like lectures and kind
yeah.
of like these groups. And in the group fashion, you're going to be learning better, I think, than just like taking on like a class here or class there.
Mm. Okay. Now, this is an interesting one. So we're seeing more people, I think, in their 40s, 50s, 60s, becoming interested in staying healthy. I mean, there are people, as you'll be aware, there are people in the 60s doing high rocks and ATHEX events and things like that. But from your experience, Ollie, from all the work you've done, research, etc., what motivates people in the later, if you like, those later stages of life, particularly 50s, 60s, even 70s? What is it that
Hmm.
motivates people to take their health more seriously?
Well, usually like people are fine in their 20s. Like
Mm,
they're not really like paying attention what goes on, maybe how they look, like how is their fitness if they're interested. And in the 30s, they might be seeing some kind of like signs of like aging. You're not really like aging in the sense of aging in your 30s, but you might have some like nagging issues in at your health, or you're not maybe capable of doing things anymore that much, and you might have like a dip in energy or joint stiffness or something like that. So like when you reach the 40s and you have family and like the rush life, like you don't have time for yourself anymore, maybe that much. And of course, it should be a priority, but you might be then like starting to think, okay, hey, maybe I need to actually like start realizing that I'm not gonna live forever, and I need to pay attention to how I want to spend my next 20 years, 30 years, hopefully, or so. And for the trigger might be different for some people. It might be a gray hair. Like for me, it was like I'm 46 and I just realized I have a couple of gray hairs. I was like, yeah, I'm not 20 anymore. and and
yeah.
and like these things are happening. There's a chronobiology, and like we are gonna get older, but there are of course the rate of how fast we get older different. Like it's completely different on based on your lifestyle. Or it could be some kind of accident, could be like that you're not capable of like doing something anymore. You could be in your 20s. So that is one thing. And the other thing is of course like when you're off on the like rush years of your life, you have more time to actually start thinking about for yourself. So you're not only like for children, pets, and everything like work, and you have actually more time for yourself. And then it usually hits, hey, okay, what I'm gonna do with all this like free time? like 60
Yeah.
plus. Usually people are like getting there. So it's kind of like a mixture of maybe some physical warning signs, uh, growing awareness of the future risk, and like the realization that I'm not gonna live forever, and things like that. And of course, like what are the trends, how the society is moving, what is up there. Like longevity now, it's a huge thing, and it's been talked a lot more than like let's say 10 years ago. Like 20 years ago, I didn't hear anybody talking about like longevity, or maybe I didn't pay attention in my 20s. Could be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's sorry, there's a question from Carl that he's put in the chat. Carl, I'm going to let you ask that one, seeing as you, because it's good. Go on.
Right. Hi, Ollie.
Hi.
Basically, from an evolutionary point of view, sleep for me is a bit of a weird one because surely the longer you sleep, the more you're at risk of being eaten by whatever was out there. So, what are your thoughts on sort of the ideal length of time to sleep? I mean, obviously, there's lots of different sort of views out there. I'd be really interested in yours in terms of what do you think is ideal, and I
Yeah,
suppose
well,
why so long?
it's a good one. Of course, like we now have like the confirmation in our nervous systems that we are safe. We don't need to watch for predators. We don't need to like have the fire on and get up like every 3 hours and or switch like these kind of things. So that is one thing. What the science shows, like the lowest mortality is with people who sleep about between 7 and 8 hours. Actually, Japanese get less than that, and they have the lowest mortality. They sleep about 6.5 hours, but their diet is a bit quite different than from the typical Western diet. So that plays a huge role. It doesn't mean that 6.5 hours is enough. That is, of course, like personal, and like the more you become aware of your own sleep needs, you need to relate to that. There are rare like genetic exceptions, maybe in like DEC2 gene or something else gene that has this kind of mutation that just simply lets you go away with less sleep, like 6 hours or something like that. But most people do not have that. So it's personal, but I would aim for at least 7 hours of sleep, like actually sleeping, and then see how you go. Personally, I feel the best when I sleep 8 hours and 10 minutes approximately. That's like my 8 plus year like average. I sometimes sleep more, sometimes sleep less. It depends on the cumulative effects on stress and how much load I have on the mental side and the body side. So it doesn't need to be like same amount every day, and usually it's not. But we are not like we our nervous system know that we are safe in the evenings and at night, so we don't need to like wake up to see if everything is okay. Thanks.
Thank you for answering that, Ollie, and thank you for asking that as well. Okay, we're coming towards the end of all the questions for you now, Ollie, so you can take a breather. In terms of technology, then, where is technology heading with regard to longevity, do you think?
Well, it's like it's regenerative, like regenerative medicine. It's been around maybe 20 years. That is something I've been also like super interested for a long time, like how we could increase the regenerative processes in our bodies so that we
Mhm.
could be staying biologically younger and having more energy and things like that. So all kinds of like regenerative clinics or rejuvenation clinics, whatever the term is kind of like the future. And what I've seen in this field arising are like this mild hyperbaric oxygen therapy or HBOT.
Yeah.
That is one of the biggest technologies It's like when it's not like 100% oxygen and a certain pressure, it's super safe, and the effects are still real, and there's still science. If you just compare to this like medical grade, higher atmospheric bar, 100% oxygen. So this kind of like a softer version of these medical technologies. And then of course like red light therapy has been it's been like available quite a long time. There's a ton of research. Like there's this Finnish dentist who has this like kind of like a research base, and I think it has already like 8,500 clinical papers, research papers on
Wow.
different kind of ailments. It's super safe and like just with light. So the red light therapy, near infrared light therapy, this has exploded in terms of like the market, the companies, and also people using it. And this is something I've been also educating people for the past 10 years. And you can like safely do it on a daily basis as long as the dose is correct. So you don't want to overdo it because then you could like minimize the benefits. There are of
Yeah.
course like different forms of cold therapies, like we discussed about these cold tubs and ice swimming, which is of course like a free natural nature technology. Then we have these whole body cryo chambers and these kind of things. I also like these. They have a bit different effect than, for example, you would go to like this cold water immersion, because the air it's conducting like the air conductance is 25 times smaller than of the water. So when you go to cold water, you get like you feel it immediately, but then
Mm.
then this like cryotherapy chamber where it's actually freaking cold, like 150 minus 150 degrees Celsius even. But since it's air, you feel it on a different kind of way. But the idea there is just to like get the tissues colder on the surface, then send a signal to the nervous system and also to the inflammatory regulatory system, so you actually like have more recovery. So how I would summarize this is people want to rejuvenate themselves, they want to recover better from the daily stressors or exercise or things like that. So this is like the top three in my opinion. Of course, there are like a bit more medical technologies like stem cell therapies, which of course it's kind of like a wild west. And for example, in Finland, it's super regulated, and there are really no stem cell clinics here. But in the US, it's all over the place and all kinds of like fringe technologies. And I'm a bit not skeptic. I'm interested, but I take a distance on these kind of things that have not been proven by science and proven to be safe as well.